Many thanks for choosing us. This afternoon, government is making a final push to force through its proposal to introduce a levies on electronic transactions as it seeks to raise nearly 7 billion Ghana cedis to partly finance the 2022 budget. There's been very strong resistance from the public who say government is unfairly taxing money in their pockets. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and other leading government officials have been meeting with interest groups to try and convince them. This morning, the minority group in Parliament who have been rejecting the levy met with Ms. Ofori-Atta and still failed to reach common ground on the e-levy. More on that for you shortly. But first, excerpts of yesterday's town hall meeting at which government officials took turns to explain the rationale for the e-levy.
So we then brought to Parliament a 1.75% levy. As the Minister has mentioned, this is not the most egregious tax that you could get, but it really leads to the issue of inclusion of all of us to build our society and wherever we really want to go to transform this land. And that has been the subject of this debate. The question is, do we want to move to this new Jerusalem? Do we want to move to this new El Dorado so that we can, as a people, show that with our own resources, and there's plenty of it, as we see various buildings coming up in this country. And even as you look at 1D1F, I think we started the 181 or so 1D1Fs around. Nobody thought it was possible, of which 106 are complete around the districts, and 81 odd and more are happening. You can also see what happened with planting for food that has resulted, in a sense, in actually being able to export some food at certain points in time. So that really is a reason. Can we sustain our debt and pay for it ourselves so we don't go out borrowing so much? Can we have the resources to support employment, which is key and affects all of us, and really is very dispiriting and breaks down the dignity of our people? That is not the people that we are. And then can we support our infrastructure to be able to then increase productivity, move around the country, and create that modern society that we talked about.
In the auditorium, there was massive support for the levy, but how is the situation outside the auditorium? We'll hear from our correspondent who covered it. But first, let's hear from the supporters.
And he said, e-levy, the discussions near the nano, or me imagine mudia, a idea, a rebel mine. But issues in Kitty on ma, Sanya intending for church, the James and the Pines were no. Let Buru intending for a Hanamo, especially Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, Selka say, taxi Chiaohui. 77 per year, but the person did two just say the good opportunity and me e-levy many Jim Pan said, your uncle or many more artisans in particular, carpenter for, mason for, electricians, or move a ball down so much. A Juman on the Diama and to tax our move piano 77 per year, direct tax IAPia. Well, my dream, e-levy, even though Adama, you could probably be direct taxes already, no, on the same tree below. But on South one in North, you know, Lefuaso, then on suggestions when I'm present can be too just. What are you to say? Abide to me, Anka, Yebenya, a separate account. Yeah, e-levy Sika Banner, and Honor at the court. Near who say, Ebi Abusumi Biano. Then the consolidated fund that AB on the East Cano say, I want you to have a baby here, the papa before for them, who say, Sir, Futui, Sike Gumini, na Seban say, or see you, and Sako Boom, one a day and a day. From the microphone, no, for Kaka.
Yes, I'm Buchi.
I'm a Patriot.
Ghana Library Authority.
Ghana Library Authority.
TUC.
Okay.
Yes. So, any say e-levy now compare my suggestion is 100 citizens, which is meant for those at the, let's say, the poorest level. Let's raise it from between 300 to 500. As I said, also, our school, we want to send them 200 or 300. For them also be paying 1 or 2 emergencies that will crop up. So I'm suggesting that let's raise this from 100 between 300 to 500.
About me can check a credit, Mr. And now we're treating it.
Maybe say between 3 to 500.
Between 3 to 500.
Yes.
I'm a butcher.
Yes.
Pacho Matimeda was saying. I can say money and funny for Toto me and San Fernando. Now, 20 Nasem. Pacho said, I was sanitizing, we say. May I sanitize in Pacho Yusu? Now, Pacho Casa.
The Pacho, your friend, Kwame Bafo.
Bafo, Kwame Pacho, Rejuma.
Me a driver.
We a driver. Pacho, it's you.
Me Casa, me I just saw Abu Airfo. Now, you know, they are making the same. You let you know, and Kadabu. Now, I did back a hammer back on the same. Say, Ghana, you can say Sadia, Deborah, now you're the among yourself. You're the year among yourself, you are back on with you, Nancy Currency, President Mills, or the VAT a buy. Now, VAT no, the buy. As a man can say, not empty before I say a VAT in it, a bit higher journey, a bit higher missing. And so, VAT in the buy, every buy when came or twasso. And they say, VAT in the buy now, what me about no twasso dia. Says, I e-levy you ba. That young comedy, and this is the first of us. What must say, and you, or month faso. And so now be as I be back or maybe.
We also run a poll asking if people have had a change of mind following the engagements yesterday at meeting. So we posted following government's town hall meeting on the e-levy on Thursday, 27 January. Are you now convinced? And you have 13.4% saying yes and 86.6% saying no. How many votes? 432 votes, and 18 hours ago, that's when this poll ended. Now you have, you're right, so that's it. You have 13.4% saying yes and 86.6% saying no. And this is actually after the town hall meeting. All right, so for commercial banks, they have been making a last-minute appeal for the tax to be reduced to at least 1%. John Ewa is Chief Executive of Ghana Association of Bankers.
Significant concerns. Do I subscribe to any attempt to rope in the informal sector into our tax bracket? Yes. The mason must be made to pay taxes. The carpenter should be paying taxes. And if they are found, I agree that we should find a way of getting their due to the national development. The issue is, at what rate do you want to bring this into the budget belongs to the economy. Yeah. We are going to have even a mid-year budget. Yeah. If by that time we see that the response has not been as negative as people have been forecasting, we can take a decision and say, okay, now it's 1.25 or whatever it is. So that we can do a little bit of a wait and see. The other issue we have, and which the minister, by the way, has promised, and as to the person-to-person transfer, though it remains...
Help me break it down. What do you mean by the person-to-person transfer?
Person-to-person transfer is John Awuah transferring money from, say, EcoBank to George Wiafe in EcoBank or in Standard Chartered or in any other bank, Access, Zenith, UBA, UMB, if from an individual to another individual. The draft bill that we've engaged the minister and his team just this past Monday, we had full assurance that to start with, the points we have raised, kind of makes a lot of valid points to them and to the scope.
We can now go live to Parliament and find out what's happening there following that meeting between the Finance Minister and the minority group. We see Parker Wilson is our man there. Parker, let's end.
The meeting has ended, Aisha, and I can confirm to you that there was agreed to reduce the charges from 1.75% to 1.5%, and he wasn't going down any further. They were insisting that apart from the 1.5%, the government insisted that there should be a no e-levy. They should scrap it, and if they don't scrap it, of course, they're going to kick against it. So there was a bit of back and forth in that meeting, and they agreed that, well, vote on the matter and will decide whether the e-levy will win or the minority will kick against the e-levy. But for now, I can confirm to you that the NPP information that the e-levy will be tabled before the House this afternoon. It will be considered, and a vote or a decision will be taken on that. Aisha, you know that the Speaker of Parliament has notified the leadership that the majority caucus is insisting that the e-levy should be brought back to the chamber today, a decision be taken, and then declared. Because if the Speaker is not there, what it means is that they all preside over citizens, and this means that it's going to weaken their numbers. Any attempt by Joseph Osewusu or Andre Siama to vote while presiding will trigger another level of chaos and confusion. The NDC to partake in the voting process when they are presiding over a sitting. And so this is where we are. As I speak to you, the finance minister, the majority leader, and his deputy had met the minority. So the bell just rang about 2 minutes ago, calling on all MPs to come into the chamber so that they can start proceeding. In fact, the Speaker of Parliament, Aban Babin, just about 15 minutes or 20 minutes maximum, Parliament will begin proceedings. And we are expecting the majority leader to the NDC's position hasn't changed. They've not softened their stance. They are still kicking against the e-levy, whilst the government is also insisting that they will do 1.5. But I should say that, but for now, what we know is that it was 1.75. The minister had proposed 1.5. And since the NDC kicked against it, whether he's going to bring the 1.5 or maintain the one we have now. All the NPP MPs, I mean, those who hardly you see in Parliament, are not getting to Parliament. The Energy Minister a while ago just walked in, Matthew Pokun just walked in, all of that. They've been asked to return to Parliament, and so they are on their way to Parliament to ensure that they participate in the vote to approve the electronic levy.
On what has been happening in Parliament. Parker, what else has been, or what other business has been happening in the chamber?
Parliament is yet to start. There were a few questions by some of the MPs. So if they kickstart with the proceedings, the MPs will be given an opportunity to ask their focus so much attention on getting the information from the minority and the majority leader in terms of the meeting that was so will bring to our viewers all the latest updates and happenings in the chamber.
JoyNews, that's where you need to stay for all the updates. Because who is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption has joined us. I'm grateful for your time, and would also be joined by Bright Soul, who's also an anti-corruption e-levy. Yet we are not making any headway. What's your own stance on this e-levy?
It's a very innovative way of trying to raise additional funds. However, in its current state, the issue have not been fully dealt with. And I think that's where the constraints lies, with people not sure that they had a lot more time to iron out the potential double taxation elements, and also to adjust it, start from a lower level, and then. So in terms of the concept, I think it's innovative. In terms of the elements, I think at the moment there's still the risk of double taxation, and there's a risk, therefore, that people would then stop doing the transfers and start doing physical, handing over of money, etc.
But fundamentally, there's been concerns about wastage problems we're having with our economy. Remember, the finance minister says if we don't take care, the economy will collapse. Is there any reason why we should allow this wastage to pass?
No, and I think that that's part of the challenge. I spent 2-3 years of my life trying to get a way to show GRA how we could expand the tax net because of work I'd done. Example where when the state created platforms for citizens to participate, to influence decision making, and to own the process so that they could hold the state accountable for resources. All of a sudden, they had 100%, 200% increase in domestic revenue mobilization. So really, the incentive for citizens to pay really is about they assess what government is doing. And if they think that government is wasting resources, it doesn't matter which angle you come from. That's the impact you get when an Auditor General's report shows billions being lost, which ideally would have addressed a bulk of this situation. And when there are cases of graft and government does not seem to be chasing it as seriously. So you're absolutely right. The wastage in the public sector, as reported by the Auditor General, is a serious thing. I would call sector by sector the ministers. Pick the Auditor General's report, pick the level of graft for 2021 and tell you that by the end of 2022, I want to see a 50% reduction or you don't have your job. Then you are also empowered to go and call your directors and other agencies and tell them the same thing. We need to cut down this wastage. If we need to have a very targeted approach at dealing with this. And obviously, citizens looking at it may well just say that these people are not serious. If you add the V8s guzzling fuel all over the place, somehow it doesn't fit together.
So government expenditure keeps increasing over the years, and if you juxtapose that with revenue generated, it's nothing to write home about. This year, 2022, if you look at government expenditure versus the revenue we're about to generate, there will still be deficits, even with the e-levy. Now, government says it has...
But I don't think it's so much about the percentage as much as we need to cut our coat to suit our size. So if we need to cut expenses by 40% so that we're well within what we generate on the income side, that's precisely what we ought to do. And we need to be very intentional about it. And so it's not about 20%. It's about what will it take to make investments and to grow our economy. So the 20% is just a figure. Question is, if we still have a gap, what more are we cutting, or how much more are we generating? It has to be one or the other. And until those questions are answered, the 20% will not be satisfactory by itself.
Recently, you've been worried about our corruption status on the corruption index. I mean, what do you recommend as a measure to check the wastage in the system?
Well, as I said earlier, I would love our president to go sector by sector. To have an Auditor General's report that shows such damning waste and graft, and not hear our Commander-in-Chief take the bull by the horn and address how it should be dealt with, it does not empower citizens to be serious about this issue at all. So it needs to start right at the top, with the president taking actions that are bold and that indicates that people will be fired, they will lose their jobs, precedents will be set. That would be the first thing to do, to show by example what it is we intend to do. The other elements that obviously feed into this whole thing of graft, which include the political party financing, and I think that we need a clear-cut law on that, that sets ceilings and that makes us capable of tracking who is paying into the coffers and are they making any demands of the parties, or to make sure the monies they give are not such that they can make any such demands. So that's another area. I also think that the constitutional arrangements where the executive are the ones appointing everybody in the public sector who is in leadership lends itself to, a certain level of exploitation, because then the executive have some kind of influence over you. We need to change those constitutional arrangements to make competency be the key thing, professionalism, and then record of experience, a history of integrity for the appointment of such persons, so that they don't feel beholden to the executive or any other branch of government. They can be independent and deliver, and we make sure we get results from our various state entities. So those are some of the issues, apart from making sure that the citizens ourselves are empowered to understand that we have an obligation to protect the public purse, and we feel in our obligation as people who are patriotic when we do not do that.
All right. So this is how the conversation has been, that the Auditor General's report indicates some 2.8 billion, which has gone, because of one corrupt act or the other, which, if government chases, could resolve much of the problems that we are facing, which is even more than the money government seeks to raise with the e-levy. Generally, what's your assessment of our fight against corruption?
Well, I think that the CPI has made a very loud statement when for 2020 and 2021, we are stagnant at 43. It means we are stagnant. We really are not doing any serious fighting against corruption at the moment. And it's just it's sad because, in 2016, the government of the day came in on the back of a very strong anti-corruption drive. So many of us were hopeful that we're going to see very substantive changes in the landscape in respect of when people engage in corruption, what will happen to them and what have you. But that has not been the case. And really speaking, if you want an incentive for citizens to believe that tighten your belt, pay more taxes, the best way to demonstrate that is that, look, you're doing all the other things that ensure that there's no waste and that money is not just entering people's pockets. And even when it does, the robustness with which you go after them to retrieve and to penalize them for what they have done would be an indicator of the political will to curb and to fight corruption. And we are not seeing enough of that at the moment. So at the moment, it's a stagnant situation. We are not making any inroads, and we need to do a lot more to revitalize the fight against corruption.
I'm grateful for your time. Edem Selano is co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. And to other stories, President Akufo-Addo has urged member states of ECOWAS to, as a matter of urgency, find solutions to restore constitutional order in Burkina Faso, condemning the military takeover. The president, who chairs the regional body, the growing insecurity in the sub-region could undermine the peace and stability of West Africa. Opening a virtual extraordinary summit of ECOWAS on the Burkina Faso political unrest, the president called for a strong stance against overthrow of democratically elected government.
President of the Commission, Chairperson of the ECOWAS Council of Ministers, Representative of the United Nations Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel, ladies and gentlemen, I thank Your Excellencies once again for your participation in yet another extraordinary summit, albeit virtually, on a matter that has grave consequences for the peace and stability of our region. The crisis in Burkina Faso and its ramifications. The deteriorating political situation in our region should be a matter of great concern to all of us. No current country is insulated from its occurrence in the community, and we have to take action to nip it in the bud. We're confronted with a setback to our democracy, taking cognizance of the twin coups d'etat in Mali on 18th August 2020 and 24th May 2021, the one in Guinea on 5th September 2021, and now on 24th January 2022 in Burkina Faso. Added to this is the complex security environment occasioned by terrorist attacks and pandemics, presenting for us a toxic situation. Within this context, you may recall that in conformity with our ECOWAS Supplementary Protocol on Democracy and Good Governance, adopted in 2001, the principles of constitutional conversion principles provide for the following. A, any accession to power must be through free, fair, and transparent elections. B, unconstitutional change is prohibited, as well as any undemocratic method of gaining or retaining power. C, zero tolerance for power obtained or maintained by unconstitutional means. And D, the armed forces must be apolitical and must be under the command of a legally constituted political authority. No serving member of the armed forces may seek to run for elective political office. Excellencies, the happenings in the region tell us that not everybody has accepted democracy as the preferred mode of governance. We still have some work to do to convince such people that we are all safer under democracies. The resurgence of coups d'etats in our region is in direct violation of our democratic tenets and represents a threat to peace, security, and stability in West Africa. This situation hinders the much-needed economic and social development of the region. I've convened this meeting with the hope to address the urgent situation in Burkina Faso and find solutions that will restore constitutional order to Burkina Faso and stabilize the region at large. We should not renege in our collective duties and obligations to ensure a peaceful, democratic, just, stable, and prosperous community. I urge you to examine critically this rising phenomenon in our region so that we take the necessary decisions that meet the aspirations and expectations of our peoples. The rest of the world is looking up to us to be firm in this matter and await the outcome of our meeting. I wish us fruitful deliberations and hereby bring the opening ceremony to a conclusion.
You heard the President Akufo-Addo, chairman of ECOWAS, now still to come on the polls, barely 4 days for Operation Frontage to kickstart. There are concerns about the absence of transfer stations, but the regional minister says they will go ahead with the implementation. Will this affect the smooth implementation of the policy? We'll find out shortly on the polls.
We are very much ready. Implementation is a process which includes continuous sensitization and awareness.
Welcome back to the Pulse. If you haven't joined, you can join via all our social media handles. It's on JoyNews on TV. You can tweet at us with the hashtag The Pulse. And right now, we're talking about sanitation because I'm sure you've heard of plans to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. Well, those were the plans of the President of the Republic of Ghana, Akufo-Addo, when he first took office. This was in response to the filth that had literally taken over the streets of Accra. In 2021, the President, together with the Greater Accra Minister Henry Korte, launched Operation Clean Your Frontage to realize the President's dream. Since its launch, some of the assemblies have been piloting the policy, and the Ayawaso West Assembly, more than 30 people were issued a sermon for failing to keep their immediate surroundings clean. In the Ayawaso North Assembly, the MCE for the area led a team of sanitation officers and task force officers to educate the public and as well caution those that fell foul of the law.
Starting from the timber market in Accra New Town, the chief executive of the Ayawaso North Municipality, Zakaria Mohammed Aminu, and a team of environmental health inspectors checked the immediate environs of some vendors in the market. Shop owners who failed to clean their drains were also issued summons.
Yeah, it's dirty. So it's part of his work. It's part of his frontage to clean it. Yeah, it must be his duty. Yes, so he has to clean it. It's not about MPP and DC here, no. At all.
And where's the person?
He's not in, but we'll look for him. Once we have said he's having notice, yes, I think he has been given a notice. So he has to comply.
Okay. And the notice is to what effect? What are they supposed to do?
They are supposed to clean it. Yes, every drain in front of your house or store is part of what? Your frontage. You have up to the middle of the road to clean. From this side, up to the middle here. From that point to this side, it's the duty of the household or the store owner to clean it, including the drainage. And this side to this side is part of what? This place. They are supposed to clean it. So no one has no right to say, oh, I won't clean it. No. Whoever dares the law will take its course. Yes, he must not dare the law. That because I'm A and B, so nobody's above the law, not even my good self.
What's the worst that they could be facing if they fail to do it?
Imprisonment. Yes, that's the worst.
Some of the residents who were issued summons were unhappy with the way the Operation Clean Your Frontage policy was being implemented. Alhaji Sani is one of them.
I like the attempt of trying to sanitize the area. That is the good way to move. But here is an area, it's a settlers and everybody is in. So no, law is law, yeah. So I want them, as what we want is they should give us some rules and regulations that we use. So if I see somebody putting it, I will, yes. So they should let everybody put net, joint by joint. It is better for us.
Another resident, Abdul Latif, identified that the asphalt on the road covers some of the metal covers on the drains, making those parts unreachable. He says they cannot be faulted for an engineering error.
It's the simple things. They come to lay this quota. We are telling these people that they shouldn't seal the mouth, because every time when we are commoting the gutter, you used to remove this iron, then we clear the gutter. They didn't listen to us. Now you block this thing. How can we remove this thing? And we need the MC the help. This gutter is too choked. The pressure here is too much. They should come and cut this gutter to join this lane, because this lane is empty when there is a rain. We are trying to explain it for them, but they don't want to listen. They are giving us pressure. And this gutter, we are the one who is combating every time. Even though this is my big brother, every time.
So you think it's not fair to...
It's not fair to us. Because all the rubbish you come from up there, come here.
Some shops built on pathways, like this motorcycle repair shop, were ordered to close. The MCE said it will be pulled down.
Now, as the state agencies ready themselves for the exercise, Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Korte says the assemblies are fully prepared to implement the policy regardless of the logistical challenges being faced by the local assemblies.
We are very much ready. Implementation is a process which includes continuous sensitization and awareness. That is why we are starting on 1st February. That is why we are going to pour more men and women onto the streets, and that is why we are going to urge people to continue to observe cleanliness in their frontage and their immediate environment. But I'm saying that it is only proper for us to implement the restrictions of Aboboya on the principal streets and highways when the transfer sites are ready. And we are saying that because of the COVID challenges, the machines are not ready yet. So whilst waiting for the machine, we'll go ahead with the implementation, but in different forms, so that Aboboyas will not be deprived of their daily livelihood. So yes, we are implementing. We're starting the process of implementation. It's a process of implementation, which includes persons that we have sent to training to pass out, to come out now to assist in ensuring that there is strict adherence and compliance to the bylaw.
Meanwhile, Zoom Lion Ghana, the official partner of the campaign, revealed that only 3 of the 29 assemblies have been able to put up a waste heat transfer station. He says many of the assemblies have challenges procuring and siting the land for the waste station. Ernest Morgan Aqua is Greater Accra Regional Manager of Zoom Lion.
Not ready for 1st February, but what we are waiting for now and what we are working on now is for the assemblies to get the land ready for us. You know, we have to get the land to put the plants on. So as we speak, about 3 MMDAs are ready with their land. That is the Ablekuma North, that's Malam area, then Ashaman, then Tema West. They are ready with their land now. The rest, I think they have some small issues with the land. So we'll try and push them to get us the land for us to come and put the equipment on. We want to limit the Aboboya applying the main street, the principal street. So if you don't get a transfer station for them, then it means when they pick up the waste, they will go all the way to the final disposal site. And when that happens, sometimes you see the rubbers from the Aboboya flying. Sometimes they get faults and they have to leave it on the shoulders of the road. They get accidents, and even when the police arrest them, they cannot pull it to the police station because they have waste in them. So we want to limit all these things.
So what's the level of readiness with less than 4 days to start the exercise? Joining me via Zoom for this conversation is Anna from Adukwe Ado, who is from Tema West Municipal Assembly. We'll be joined by other MCEs from various assemblies for this conversation. We'll also be joined by Zoom Lion to have this conversation. But let me start with Anna Adukwe. Anna, as we wait, in the next 4 days, Operation Frontage will begin in earnest. Let's assess the level of preparedness. How prepared are we?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. So far, we've had a series of engagement. We have a committee set up at the RCC, and we've had meetings to that effect. We have our routes that we are taking. Everything has been lined up from Farisco to UTC, Carnation First Light to Bechebi Lante, Runabout, Aveno to Circle, TUC to Tema Station, TUC to Law School, Agoglushi, and then La Paz. So these are the routes that we'll be working on. And so far, 13 MMDAs have been pulled, under Gamma, have been pulled to this operation. And we have security forces available from the police service, from the military, immigrations, and prisons. And we have, so far, that is just about what we've done. We also have national service persons. We are expecting over 15,000 national service persons across the country to come in Greater Accra to come and assist in this project.
Let's understand what this Operation Clean Your Frontage what will happen on Tuesday, February 1, when the operation kickstarts.
What is going to happen is all the 15,000 national service persons that have been pulled in, we all meet at the Independence Square by 6 o'clock. We will meet there. We will pick them up from points that have been designed So we all meet at the Independence Square, where they'll be addressed as to what exactly they'll be doing. And then buses will be taken. The bus will take them to their respective points. That's what's going to happen. They are going to distribute leaflets or flyers, and then we'll have bumper stickers that will be stuck on people's cars, creating awareness and sensitization of the Operation Clean Your Frontage. And then we are expecting the MMDAs to bring along their team, that's their task force. There will be decongestion exercise along in some areas, as well as towing of cars and broken down vehicles that have been left on the roads. They will be towed. So these are just about some of the things that will happen on that day.
Well, Zoom Lion feels that you are not prepared enough because there are lack of logistics to actually implement this. What really are the challenges you are facing right now?
The main challenge, as the Honorable Regional Minister mentioned, is the transfer sites. That's the main challenge. Apart from that, we don't have any challenge. And we will go ahead, as he mentioned, with the implementation process. The Aboboyas will not use the motorway, but will not restrict the movement so far. But the motorways is out of the way. We'll make sure that they will help as well. You know, we have compaction tracks distributed across the MMDAs. So we will lift rubbish that will come out on that day. We will lift rubbish to the final disposal points. So that's what will happen. But there are no challenges. The main thing is the transfer site that is not ready.
So with the transfer stations, are you saying that you can go ahead with the implementation without the transfer stations and still have a smooth implementation?
I don't envisage a lot of problem. We have a series of engagements with our service provider. That is the waste companies, and they know exactly what they're supposed to do.
But this is a waste company that is raising the issue, Zoom Lion, which is partnering with you. That says that, I mean, the assemblies are not ready because of these logistical problems.
I think it is not a fair statement, because yesterday we had a meeting. Zoom Lion was there himself, and I believe he saw the interaction that went on. I don't think it's the right statement for them to have.
So on Tuesday you are starting in full force Operation Clean Your Frontage. What's your message to the public?
This is a bylaw. It has come to stay, and we need them just as they need us. And everybody, I believe that they must imbibe what is going on. It should be part and parcel of our lives as Ghanaians. The filth is too much. We generate them, and as much as possible, we want them to know that it is not okay to go on like that. This is something that has come to stay, and when you are arrested, when you don't do the right thing, you'll be arrested. This is a bylaw, and we're going to enforce it in full force. They should know that.
I'm grateful for your time. Anna Dukwe Ado is MC for Tema West Municipal Assembly, and we've been speaking about the Operation Frontage, which will kickstart on Tuesday. We can now also do some assessment with the Central Municipal Assembly, and I'm being joined by Mohamed Bashir Kamara. I'm grateful for your time, Mr. Bashir Kamara. I want to understand whether you are fully prepared for this operation come Tuesday.
Good afternoon, madam. Yes, we are fully prepared. We launched the operation yesterday, and these people, stakeholders, transport union, leaders, the clergy, etc. Everybody was there, and you could see the level of enthusiasm of the people after the launch of the program. And we've had series of meetings and sensitization exercises even before the launch. We have branded vehicles ready to do dawn broadcast. We have scheduled next week or two to meet religious leaders and traditional authorities at 24 universities. Yes, in an attempt to sensitize the general public about the operation. So we've kick-started the program. Not that we are ready, we've kick-started already. And I can tell you that the Central Municipal Assembly is cleaner now than it was before the inception of this program.
Now, there's been the issue of transfer stations, and indeed, the minister himself confirmed the lack of it. Are you sure you'll be able to go ahead with implementation smoothly without the transfer stations?
The transfer station, our site is ready. We've done the inspection and everything. You see, it's not about transfer station or less transfer station. It is about the spirit of nationalism and patriotism that this whole exercise is instilling into the general public. Everybody thought that cleaning your frontage and environment, immediate environment, for that matter, is the duty of the government, and for that matter, the municipal assembly. But since the inception of this program and the kind of sensitization that has gone on, people are beginning to realize they have embarked the idea that no, it is for you to go, it's not the government to come and do it. And in our rounds, we explain to them the law and the bylaws that have passed. For instance, somebody did not know that if there is a heap of garbage in front of his house or her house, and they don't take steps to remove them, by law, it assumes that they are the one who caused it. They didn't know, but through this sensitization exercise, they are wide awake now, and they've started. This morning we did some rounds, and clearly you could see that everyone themselves have started the operation. We're going to embark on a float, serious float on the 1st of February. That's why we have flyers. It says we will do a lot of public education. I believe by the end of February, he will come to the Central Municipal Assembly and you wonder whether it's a municipal assembly that is so. Just today, this morning, for 2 hours, I held a meeting with the refuse service providers in the municipality. About 12 of them, each and every one of them was present. And we had a very extensive deliberation in line with Operation Clean Your Frontage. They themselves have told them that they have a responsibility. For instance, when you are driving past their trucks and everything, they see that there is garbage somewhere. It is their responsibility to make sure that the garbage is cleared from there. And that it means they are checking their responsibility. And they left my office very, very, very happy with the program.
Let's bring in Ernest Morgan Akwa, who is CEO of Zoom Lion Ghana. They are partnering in this implementation. Mr. Morgan, you are concerned about the preparedness of the various assemblies to implement this policy. What are the challenges that you have identified?
Okay, thank you very much. The challenges that I have identified in respect to the program that we are going to run from the 1st of February is the citizens, their preparedness to the program. We've had enough education, but we did a recce yesterday, and some of them, it's a pretense, but it's as if they've not heard anything about it. And it's common with Ghanaians. Mostly they want enforcement. They want us to get on the ground before people would move. Because we've sent information around all the MMDAs, they have piloted the program, sending a signal that from the 1st of February, this is what we are going to do. And that apathy is there. So we are looking up to Tuesday and we'll see what will happen in town.
So so what do you envisage will happen on Tuesday without the transfer stations?
So without the transfer station, everything is running. The transfer stations were to be sited by the 1st of February so that they would get the waste from their buboyas so that they don't ply the main roads. Because they are not ready, I think there wouldn't be much enforcement on the tricycles. But for the motorway, from November, we've started, and no buboya is plying the motorway. With the principal street, I think we would relax it a bit till the transfer stations are ready. We would the enforcement of the Abubuya in the communities. But aside this, we are going to ensure that those who are selling on the streets are moved from who are on the pavement, moved. The vehicles that have decided not to join the association and to use the lorry parks, but they are on the stretches, they all, and we are sending flyers and social media information to all citizens in Accra, so that they will ensure that from 1st February, your frontage is clean. We are doing more of the education, and from 1st February, the notices will be served. And I think when we start with the enforcement, things will move in shape.
So come Tuesday, 1st February, you're going all out to implement this policy, right?
Yes. And as part of the things that we have done or we are doing, now every MMDA in Accra, all the 29, they've received at least one brand new compaction trucks. We have given out pickups for monitoring. And for the compaction trucks, they will be plying the principal street to ensure that garbages that are on the stretches are picked quick and fast. Aside that, we are also giving some logistical support to all MMDAs. We have also pushed the 1 million bin agenda. You know, if you are cleaning your frontage, if you are ensuring that you are pushing agenda, you should have at least a bin in your house to hold the waste that you produce. Every human being produces waste. So now we are pushing the 1 million bin agenda. At least every household should have a bin. That is the first step in making sure that we are in line with this operation, Clean Your Frontage. And I think it's a new project. We would have some challenges too, but within the next 3-4 months, everything will fall in shape.
I'm grateful for your time. Ernest Morgan Akwa is CEO of Zoom Lion Accra, and we've also been speaking with Mohammed Bashir Kamara, who is MC of Gas Central Municipal Assembly. Earlier, we spoke with Anna Adukwe Ado, who is MC for Tema West Municipal Assembly. I'm extremely grateful that all of you joined. Let's move on from Operation Frontage to other issues, and this morning we have been interacting with some drivers at the second Neoplin station on Ghana's driver licensing regime. The drivers, while applauding the inclusion of an examination to test your knowledge on road signs and the compulsory eye testing, they underscored the need to weed out corruption in the license acquisition process. Some also suggested the inclusion of psychological tests for drivers as part of the licensing process.
What's your name?
My name is George Kwabra Grant. Okay. And you know, we drivers, everyone had a signboard. Yeah, so my signboard I've been written on my car is Barlow, the popular known Barlow. Okay. Yeah, man.
Great. So, yeah. Mr. Grant, yeah. You are from the old school. Tell me about your licensing system. How was it for you?
Oh, my license correcting as a license driver, that was 1980. I collected my license driver 1980 at Tema, Harbour Road. One Corporal Jemfi, he gave me the license, and I just pay 1 CD. The old time is 10 CD or something like that, 1 CD, and I pay at Tema.
What were you asked to do before the license was given to you?
Oh, but then you go, there is no land. Maybe driving license. Then I ask you to sit here. Are you ready? They say yes. You say yes, I'm ready. Okay, come. Then they take you to some old car, Bedford, petrol. If you are ready to come and get license, sit in this car. Do you know how to drive? Yes, I know how to drive. They put the key on the car, spark, and you spark it. They say go forward, you go forward, come back. There's a drum, engine oil drum. Then they put it 2, 2, and 3. So when you go forward and you come back, when you hit the drum, you fail. You won't give the driving license.
So there was nothing like exams?
No. No, checking for checking for things and other things, but only the gallons. Okay. You go forward and you come back. Okay. When you hit the gallon, that's all. Yes.
I'll come back and ask you what you think of the new system now. Let me come to this gentleman who will preferably not want his face to show, but has a lot to share with us as well. Please, what's your name?
Michael Osei.
Michael, so you are relatively young with the newer system. How was your experience for you?
I think the new system of receiving a driver's license, I went through the driving school, but before then I went to driving school, I had already learned how to drive in the house because I had opportunity of my uncle teaching me how to drive in the house. Then the moment I went to the driving school, I think I was trained at the driving school for 3 months. So you go for exams every day, like at the driver's licensing school. So after that, and then they took me to the DVLA to have a learner's license. And then after the learner's license, you have some time to be updated, like come for your exams. So we went there, and then they put us in the room. We're like, let me say like 30 people in the room. So they put you in the room, and then they bring the exams to you. And then how it was like this, people that can read and write, they separate you from people that could not read and write. So if it is Twi or whatever language you could do, the other people will translate it into that your local dialects.
So it was a live translation of the questions on the board.
Good. So they will just translate it to you, and they will give you the possible answers, and then you would have to choose what you think is right. Yeah. So, and then I think it had a percentage that it qualifies you. I think it was after 70% and above that you are qualified to receive the license. And so that was how it was done, and then we went through the eye testing. All these things were part of it before you could qualify. If you fail in the eye testing too, you can't be given a driver's license. You would have to go back to the school, or you would have to, they would have to refer you to an eye clinic for you to go there and also check or be treated before you come back for it.
You mentioned at some point that some people do underworks, so you could either pay your way out and some of those. I mean, how do you think that worries the system that we have?
What worries the system is that I think it's about probably most people go to that where I saw all these secret things is about where the eye is being tested. Most people go there and then they are not being tested. You just go there and they just give it to you because probably your eye, you have a little problem because you would have to be marked by the eye clinic and then you bring that results. I think they write on it nil or whatever if you qualify. But then mothers go there and just, this woman is there, they all hold them on, just give the person something. No, you'll be told outside. You'll be told outside, when you go there and then, because actually the eye people there, they are really straight. That was what they'll tell you. They are really straight. So when you're going, just make sure you just give them something. And that is how it is. And I think it's really not helping the system.
What do you think we can do to better the system that we have? Already you mentioned about some of the challenges with it.
Well, I think with the DVLA, what I would say is, I think they would have to put proper measures. They are really doing their best. I would say they are really doing their best, but then there's still more room for improvement. As in the licenses, I think they would have to, the licensing office, I think would have to also get a school of itself, as in the drivers, because I think they would rather know them better than people also bringing them from outside. I think the lecturer would have to come from the school and examine you and pass you.
So you are suggesting that the DVLA sets up its own school like we have in the driving schools. Great. Mr. Grant, quickly, so you have been in this station for some time now.
Yes, please.
And he says that as part of his time, you have to test the eye. Do you think it's an important thing to do now, to be testing the eye and all of that?
Very, very important to check the eyes, because there are some drivers in future, they'll be getting eye problem. And of late, the high bulbs that we use for highways and things, the bulb also weakened our sight, because they have the diamond bulb, they have some halogen bulb. When they throw onto your eyes in the night, you may be closing your eyes when there's car parking on your face. You see, I grant like this Barlow. I'm a mate of Bedford during the time of those days from Chepi Apepem to Accra, Amsote. That time, there's no high bob and no wicket of high bob, so you get a sight problem. But of late, look the light that how people have been using. So the transport and communication and etc., they have to check for highway the bulbs that those cars have been using. You can.
That's a good suggestion. So, to wrap it up, what would be your suggestion about the licensing system? What would you suggest to them that we can do to improve on the quality of drivers we put on our roads?
The quality, unless you have dormer machine to break your head to see that this driver, when he gets the license, is it going to use it correct or not? With that, no, nothing I can tell again, because when you give a license to somebody, look what is driving. In our days, there is so nothing like that, but of late, you see, so they have to check it from their head and their mind, that if you are licensing, when they give you, what is your next agenda to make a good driver, as how I'm talking today.
So that's Mr. Grant, and earlier I spoke to a younger gentleman who have been helping me to unravel the licensing regime that we have. Possibly what Mr. Grant is suggesting is a psychological review of our drivers on our streets, possibly to understand beyond the physical testing that you have to do in there. From the Neoplan station here in Circle, my name is Michael Ashali for JoyNews.
And in the studio here in Kokomlemle, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, the ruling New Patriotic Party has denied accusations that it is unfairly enforcing regulations it's instituted barring campaigning ahead of the party's internal contest. Some supporters of the Trade and Industry Minister, Alan Chermantin, who is reported to be eyeing the party's flag bearership, have accused the party of giving undue advantage to Vice President Bawumia, who will also contest succeed President Akufo-Addo. But speaking at a news conference this morning, General Secretary of the party, John Boydo, criticized the conduct of such supporters, arguing it will distract the party's internal reorganization efforts. He urged such persons to use laid-down procedures to seek redress.
It is to be emphasized that the code of conduct, which were formulated in accordance with Article 18 of the party's constitution, is applicable to all supporters and actors, including government appointees, ministers, members of governing boards and councils, chief executive officers of government institutions, members of parliament, MMDC, aspirants and potential candidates, and their supporters, as well as all members of the party. In view of recent agitations in some quarters regarding the enforcement of the code of conduct as it relates to the presidential primaries, the party wishes to emphasize that the code of conduct, which is only supplementary to the provisions of the MPP constitution, expressly provides clear procedure for handling alleged breaches and non-enforcement of its contents, as the case may be. We wish to encourage our members who feel aggrieved in one way or the other regarding the enforcement of the code of conduct, particularly as it relates to the presidential primaries, to take advantage of the express provision in the code and petition the National Complaints Committee for the necessary redress, rather than holding press conferences and accusing the parties of selectivity. It is important that we take note of that.
John Boydo has also been disclosing the dates for elections of officers of the party from constituency to the national level, with the National Delegates Conference set for between July 14 and 16 this year.
17. Now, constituency executive elections. The National Council approved that the constituency executive elections must be held between April 22nd, 2020 to April 24th, 2022. That April 22nd, 2022 to April 24th, 2022 as the dates for the conduct of the constituency annual Delegates Conference to elect constituency executives. Nomination fees. Constituency chairpersons will pay 500 as nomination fees. All other positions will be 200 Ghana cedis. The rules and regulations will also be seen in the application form that will be sent out by the Constituency Election Committee. Regional executive elections. The Council again approved that regional executive elections should be held between May 20th to May 22nd, 2022. It is a date that has been approved for the Regional Annual Delegates Conference to elect regional executives. Elections shall be supervised by the Regional Elections Committee. The National Council again approved that national officers' elections should be held between July 14th to July 16th, 2022. That is the dates that we will conduct our National Annual Delegates Conference to elect national officers of the party. The venue for the National Annual Delegates Conference, as decided by the National Council, is in Accra. Elections shall be supervised by the National Elections Committee to be composed as follows. 3 reps appointed by the National Executive Committee, one of whom shall be the chairperson of the National Elections Committee. The National Council of Elders, Chairman of the National Council of Elders, the Director of Research and Elections, 2 elderly women appointed by NEC, and the Director of IT. Nomination fees. For National Chairman position, 20,000. For Vice Chairperson's positions, 15,000. For General Secretary position, 10,000. All other positions, 8,000.
There's an emerging health crisis at Apiate in the western region where survivors of last Thursday's explosion are beginning to report various degrees of speech and hearing impairment, according to ear, nose and throat doctors who are on the ground carrying out medical assessment on the community members. There are worrying signs of mild to moderate hearing loss. This follows earlier revelations by the Psychiatric Association of Ghana that some children there had gone mute after the explosion, while some adults contemplated suicide. We'll hear from the Ghana Medical Association on its reading of the situation in Apiate shortly. But first, here's a wrap of the cases reported so far.
An initial assessment conducted by personnel from the Psychiatric Association of Ghana at Apiate found a traumatized population of close to 900 displaced persons, including 373 extremely vulnerable children. This also included children who reportedly persistently screamed at night and some who had gone mute since the explosion. Some adults were reported to be struggling with sleep at night, while others were contemplating suicide. Dr. Ruth Aintree is president of the association.
One mother told me that the child since Thursday has not spoken. This is a child that was shown videos of gory sceneries, people dying, the fires, the flames going up and all that. And so people are going through challenges. And like we have said, if we are able to put in intervention at this early stage, we will be able to avert an otherwise severe mental disorders or severe anxiety disorders in the near future.
The association also predicted a risk of severe anxiety disorders and regression of the development of children with a potential impact on their academic performance. It took the conversion of the St. Michael's Catholic Church to a mini clinic for some of the survivors to be assessed by the medical team.
The dressing units also around. We are currently also preparing a place for the maternity people here, so that those who are pregnant and they have other issues with their pregnancy, they can just go to the nurse who is preparing a place for them to go. And we have also created a place for psychological. Okay. Yeah. to sack them. Even now, we have some people who have some issue when it comes to their sleeping, their fears, anxiety, and other things. Even there is a woman who just came here.
But in the past couple of days, many of the survivors are reporting mild to moderate hearing impairment. Dr. Paul Kwao Ntodi is a retired ear, nose and throat surgeon providing medical assistance on the ground.
We had a report to the regional director that some of the victims of the disaster had ear problems. Some had perforated eardrums, bilateral, most of them bilateral perforation of the tympanic membrane, the eardrums, with associated hearing loss. And so far, we've seen about 38 of the victims, most of them with bilateral perforation of the tympanic membrane, the eardrums. A few of them infected because even though they had been given prescriptions, I think they did not manage to get some of the treatment. One or two had their middle ear infected, and almost all of them had mild to moderate hearing.
We can now listen to General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayo, was calling for the establishment of an on-site pharmacy to help dispense medicines.
Indeed, it can't get worse, because if you take like the infection, normally, if an eardrum or a tympanic membrane rupture treated, it can heal spontaneously on its own without the need for any surgical intervention. But if it gets infected, then there are complications that can make the situation even worse. You can get people developing otitis media and other infections that can even spread all the way to the brain. So the provision of antibiotics for these patients is an emergency. So I think that it calls for a more targeted response and a more targeted response. I know fundraising is going on, people are donating and resources are being raised. An on-site pharmacy must be set up immediately. People should not be given prescription to go look for medication to buy, because within that town, the whole place is destroyed. Are they supposed to travel to the next community to go and look for a drug and buy? And these are people who have lost all their livelihood. So it will be unfortunate that a victim is given a prescription to go look for medication. I think as part of the response, there should be an on-site pharmacy at these camps, emergency camps that have been created. And when you are given a prescription, it should be direct to the pharmacy and you are supplied, because time is of essence.
While traditional leaders in the Western region are worried that discussion efforts towards the redevelopment of Apiate may die out soon should any major event come up, correspondent Inathalia has more.
Apiate explosion, like many other devastating disasters in the country, usually die out soon after new arrangements are made, but only on paper. The worried chiefs say they will this time show keen interest in ensuring the redevelopment of Apiate, as promised by the state, is implemented to the latter. Some of them expressed their frustration on what they say may be the possible neglect of the Apiate community soon.
The escort can want 10 bena escort to came, let 10 bena can yazent. I'm going to produce them no with escort to go. Escort to go, until can. Open some different man's for why did you know? If you are there, what is it? Sibishima,
na umayen pelo ya no nyina semi na company no yetu no mon ka semi ni sa company na amasa Amazon company yes me no mon kan ye that's a police for ebe ka kire say
president pa ehun na ke baboro no
sa escort na asi moto bi ko bom escort no yin no yin
The state has since last Thursday put measures in place to assuage the pain and trauma of the people displaced by the incidents. The measures include the settlement of those affected who are now camped at Dumase, which is about 1 kilometer from the Apiate community. Currently, works at the camp, which is to serve as their temporary residence until the resettlement works are completed, is about 90% completed. The paramount chiefs of Esikado Keten, Nana Kobnan Ketia, and Wasa Menfi Traditional Council, Tatrete Okwamwa Sechim, have assured the people and chiefs of their resolve to ensure that a thorough investigation is conducted and the necessary measures put in place to forestall a repeat of such unfortunate tragedies.
I've heard all the concerns raised by Nananum of this area, and they're employing the committee to help them to resolve this issue. And I believe the government is very strong on it. But the committee has a mandate. The committee's mandate is to raise funds and see the disbursement in a transparent manner. The committee is so involved in reconstruction. But I believe along the line, before you disburse, you have to make sure the right things are done. And I can assure Nananum that I'm with them. And I believe this is why, in the sense, the government had one of us on the committee, being me. So we are on it. And we're not going to sleep over it till everything is done. So now we can get that assurance from me. And I believe I will be able to speak to my committee members to make sure Apiate comes back to life. And this is what we are offering.
This particular thing should not happen anywhere in Ghana. Already we had a closed-door meeting, and we commend the government for some of the actions taken already in terms of the Vice President coming, in terms of the fund, because one of the things we had thought about was to set up a special fund. But the government has set that fund up, and fortunately, in their wisdom, they brought one of our eminent chiefs, who is also a Wasa chief, to be a part of it. So we're going to monitor it closely for accountability, responsibility, and integrity of the fund. There are lots, we see only the tangibles, but the intangibles can never be replaced. You know, the memories people are carrying with regard to this place, that is what makes this loss. You just don't know what to say, and it hits you. So we're all praying that the best will be done.
For JoyNews, in Athalia Kwansa, Apiate.
And back here in Accra, Bishop Emmanuel Akon of the Victory Bible Church has prayed for the Multimedia Group Limited to birth new brands and continue to dominate the media landscape in the country. This came up at the group's annual Thanksgiving service held on the theme, God is Still With Us. And for us, he will turn our mourning into joy. Hannah Odame has more in this report.
Amidst singing, dancing and shouting, management and staff of the Multimedia Group gathered to give thanks at the Victory Bible Church International at Kokomlimli. The annual prayer Thanksgiving Praise Feast is a show of appreciation to the Lord for his unlimited mercies upon the group all through the year. CEO Kwesichum couldn't help but join the Multimedia choir in praising God for what he's done for the group and what he will continue to do.
He says, again, take up your timbrels and play your sanku and open your mouths and sing and go out to dance, not mournfully, but dance joyfully. Why? Because the joy of the Lord is your strength. And we are going to sing to the next neighbor by you that say, everything is going to be all right.
Don't you cry, you gotta pay a fine. Every little thing's gonna be all right. Don't you cry, don't you cry.
Reading from Psalm 92 verse 1, the preacher Bishop Emmanuel Akon reminded everyone why it is important to give thanks to God even in the midst of difficulties.
It's understood that in everything give thanks unto God, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus concerning you. May you be biblically consistent, that when you wake up, no matter whether there's food in the pocket, in the fridge, money in the pocket, clothing at your back, you still have a song, you still have a praise, you still have something to rejoice to God about. Is that not so?
His sermon ended with blessings for the Multimedia Group Limited.
2022, every mountain will become a plain. Every valley will be filled. Every crooked path will be made straight. Every rough path will be made smooth. Shout a big amen, somebody.
Here are some staff counting their blessings.
I really appreciate what God has done for Multimedia, our clients, our listeners, our viewers.
And I'm so grateful for what the Lord has done for me, because during the praises and the worship, I shed a lot of tears, because within me I know what the Lord has done for me. Throughout accidents and sickness, but we're still alive, and I still have my life today. So I say praises to God.
Bishop Yao Owusu-Ansah prayed for the sustenance of the group.
We speak into Multimedia. May oceans be open for you. In the name of Jesus. Now, therefore, I bless you as a child of God. I bless every member of this family. May your forehead be stronger than your enemies.
The Multimedia Group is indeed
grateful.
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 For Joy News, I am Hannah Odami.
Some staff were awarded for their hard work and dedication. They include Assistant News Editor Abladi Souza, who spoke to Joy News.
I just want to thank my colleagues and say God richly bless them for the confidence reposed in me, and that it will spur me on and urge me to do more. You must always work the way you would want somebody to work for you. And for me, that's one of the mottos I live by. Do it as if it's yours, so that someone else would also take care of yours better. So, yeah, that's it for me.
I'm very grateful for the award, and I want to say thank you to my team for voting, especially my drivers. I really appreciate everybody voting for me. It's determination and hard work. They all constitute to it.
And I thank God for it. And I thank all my staff, my colleagues. I thank them because what they want is what has given me this today. And to God be the glory. I also through this inspire my other working colleagues that whatever they are doing, God is watching. And human beings are also watching.
It is not only my award, but it's a collective award. So I must say it's a good thing. We all work and we expect to be rewarded. If I've received it today, next time it will be another person. So what I will say is that I will encourage everyone to work hard, and next year they will get theirs also.
We'll take a break on The Pulse. When we return, we'll bring you the very latest from the world of sports. We draw the curtains this afternoon on The Pulse. Many thanks for watching. It's been indeed exciting coming your way. Let's Talk Showbiz is up next. Enjoy the rest of our programs.